Jack Wilshere just turned 34. Think about that. 34. That is the same age as Kevin De Bruyne, the same age as Virgil van Dijk. At 34, those men are wearing the captain's armband, leading their nations, dominating Europe. But Jack has been a former player for years. While his peers are planning for the next World Cup, Jack is planning training sessions for teenagers. It shouldn't have ended this way. So, how did the most gifted English midfielder of his generation run out of time before he even reached his prime? To understand the tragedy of the man at 34, we must first revisit the magic of the boy at 19. There are nights that stay with you, not because of the scoreline, but because for a brief moment, everything you thought you knew about English football changed. February 2011. The Emirates Stadium, Arsenal versus Barcelona. This wasn't just another Champions League tie. This was football royalty arriving in North London. Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, the holy trinity of possession. Men who didn't chase the game, they controlled time itself. And standing opposite them in Arsenal red was a boy, 19 years old, Jack Wilshere. No fear in his eyes, no reverence. He didn't drop deep to hide. He didn't give the ball away early, he demanded it. Every touch felt like a challenge to the natural order. He took the ball on the half-turn. He drove straight through the heart of Barcelona's midfield. Xavi bounced off him. Iniesta couldn't nick it. Busquets chased shadows. From the terrace, it felt unreal. A sharp intake of breath with every carry. A roar every time he wriggled free. This wasn't survival. This was domination. For 90 minutes, English football looked at itself and thought, we might finally have one. A real one. Not just a runner, not just a battler, but a world-class technician. That night, a star wasn't just born, he was crowned. But that night didn't happen by accident. It was the final product of a quiet revolution brewing inside Arsenal's academy. Jack Wilshere didn't come from nowhere. He came from Hale End, Arsenal's quiet obsession. For years, Arsene Wenger had been searching for something almost mythical, the Holy Grail. A midfielder with English grit, the heart, the bravery, the refusal to hide, combined with Spanish technique. Cesc Fabregas had been close. But he wasn't English. Jack Wilshere was. From the academy days, coaches talked about him differently. Not about his size, not about his pace, but about his courage. He wanted the ball where it hurt, in tight spaces, between men who were bigger, stronger, older. Inside the dressing room, Jack was seen as the future. This was Wenger ball incarnate. Angles, triangles, movement. Football played with thought, not force. And Jack Wilshere was the chosen one, the bridge between eras. The lad who would lead Arsenal back to the top, with intelligence, not intimidation. He was the perfect player. But hidden inside that perfection was a ticking time bomb. To understand Jack Wilshere's fall, you have to understand how he played. Not just that he was injured, but why. Jack operated in what coaches call the red zone, the most dangerous area on a pitch, between the lines, where defenders don't jockey, they clatter. Most midfielders learn survival early. Release the ball early. Move it on before the contact comes. Jack did the opposite. He invited the tackle. This was his gift and his curse, the late release theory. He would carry the ball straight at defenders. Wait a fraction longer than was sensible. Let the opponent commit. And then, at the very last millisecond, a flick, a roll. A pass slipped through the gap. The ball would be gone. But the defender wouldn't be. Studs arriving on ankles, body weight crashing through joints. It was beautiful because it broke lines. It was suicidal because physics doesn't care about elegance. Jack's bravery made him special. It also destroyed him. Every time he stayed on the ball that extra heartbeat, he paid for it in the physio room. Yet, before the bomb exploded, that suicidal style gave us art. In fact, it gave us arguably the greatest team goal in Premier League history. If you want to know what Arsenal believed football should look like, you show this goal. Norwich City, 2013. The ball moves like a whisper. Giroud, Wilshere, Cazorla, one touch, no hesitation. Jack glides into the box. The return pass arrives. Finish. The Emirates explodes. That goal wasn't about speed, it wasn't about power, it was about trust. For a moment, it felt inevitable. That this lad would rule midfields for the next 10 years, that England had found its heartbeat. This was the peak, the summit. That goal was the summit. But on the other side of the mountain was a sheer drop. Ankles don't scream when they break. They go quiet. The stadium does too. One injury became two. Two became a pattern. Come back, break down, rehab, repeat. The gym is a lonely place when you're meant to be on the pitch, watching your mates play, hearing the crowd through concrete walls. Then came the photos. A cigarette, a night out. The same media that once anointed him England's saviour now questioned his professionalism. Leaving Arsenal was the hardest blow. West Ham, Bournemouth, different kits, same frustration. Football moved faster. Jack stood still, but the lowest moment didn't happen on a physio table. It happened at the breakfast table. Jack revealed a moment with his son, Archie. The boy, innocent and confused, looked at his father and asked, "Dad, why aren't you playing? Why does no club want you?" Imagine that. You conquered Barcelona at 19. You were meant to be a legend. And now you have to explain to your own child why the phone has stopped ringing. Why you are training alone in a local park while your friends play at Wembley. That is the brutal reality of the fall. It strips away your pride until there is nothing left. For most players, this is where the screen fades to black. But Jack Wilshere wasn't done with football. And football wasn't done with him. Jack Wilshere. The player had to die for Jack Wilshere, the coach, to be born. At Arsenal's academy, he found purpose again, guiding youngsters, protecting them, teaching when to release the ball, when not to be brave, then stepping boldly into senior football, Norwich City's first-team staff. And finally, in late 2025, the homecoming. Luton Town, the manager, the boy who left to chase a dream, returned as a man to lead. This time, on the touchline, he's not waiting for the tackle. He's seeing it coming, and maybe, just maybe, that's the final lesson of his career. Not every genius gets the ending they deserve, but some get a second beginning. Jack Wilshere was a beautiful suicide of a footballer, but as a teacher, his story is still being written. Because football is not just about goals and trophies, it's about pain, sacrifice, and the moments that break us before they define us. Subscribe to Football Chronicles for stories that live in the spaces highlights ignore. Leave a comment and tell us, do you think Jack Wilshere could have been one of Arsenal's greats if his body had let him?